today we're going to be looking at pre-colonial North America. Beginning in the 1400s, Europe experienced the age of exploration. And this should be reviewed from 7th grade curriculum when you study the age of exploration and discuss Columbus and the different explorers and the different technologies that were created. So looking at why, remember the 3 G's: glory, God, and gold. Glory, the king sent explorers to find and claim land, which led to the power, fame, and wealth for these nations, or those nations. Explorers themselves sought the fame exploration could bring. It made them a celebrity, it made them popular with anything they could have found while they're exploring different lands. So they did like to glory themselves. God, European Christians, especially Catholics, wanted to convert natives in the lands they were visiting. Remember, you're going to have the Protestant Reformation. Before this, it's going to cause a division between religious denominations. You have Catholics versus Protestants, so they want to spread their ideals of being a Catholic. They were visiting and settling to Christianity. People that went to other countries to spread the word of God and Christianity, they were called missionaries. So missionaries are people who went on voyages to convert others to Christianity. Gold, the 3rd G, European nations wanted to obtain gold and other new riches to make them the richest nation. That's how they competed against each other. This was made possible because there was changes and improvement in technology, such as the magnetic compass, the astrolabe, and the caravel ships. Improved travel, made it easier. They knew what directions they were going into, and also, I didn't write this up here, but also map making made it easier and better to travel. In the beginning, there were 2 countries that led in the age of exploration, and those 2 countries were Spain and Portugal. They would lead the way in exploration. Going down to Christopher Columbus, one of the explorers that y'all should have studied last year in 7th grade, he was an Italian sailor who believed he could reach Asia by sailing west. So remember, in Asia, they're going to have the spices and the spice trade. And they wanted to avoid or find a different route where they wouldn't have to keep using the Muslims as the middle people or middle individuals to trade with Asia. They just wanted, the Europeans just wanted to trade directly. So he eventually convinced Spanish monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella to pay for his voyage to find a quicker and easier route to Asia for the spice trade. In October 1492, Columbus and his 3 ships landed on what is now the Bahamas. And he didn't discover America, but they say this is when he discovered America, because America already existed. He just, he founded a new area that they didn't know was there. The sad thing is, once he landed, the population of the Taino Indians who inhabit the Caribbean was decimated, meaning they were killed off by disease and famine after contact with Columbus and the Spanish. The incognito system granted land to Spanish settlers in the Americas. The conquistadores and settlers were given land and Native Americans to work that land. So they enslaved the Native American population against their will. In exchange for their labor and goods, the Spanish settlers were responsible for taking care of the Indians and teaching them Christianity, because again, they did want to spread Christianity. They were able to do this to the Native Americans because, remember, Europeans had better weapons and technology to conquer the Native Americans and then to force them to become slaves. This is also the age of exploration is going to lead to the Columbian Exchange, which refers to the exchange of ideals, diseases, such as smallpox and malaria, plants and animals between the Old and New World after Columbus arrived in the Caribbean in 1492. So Columbus wanted to find a faster way to the West Indies, or Indies. India, China, and Japan. Later explorers would search for the Northwest Passage to Asia for centuries. Keep in mind, you have the whole spice trade, you have a lot of riches. They want to bypass the Muslims and don't have a middle person. Now, once Columbus founded the New World and went back and told the other European countries, they're going to want to also send explorers to the New World. So there's going to be a disagreement between Spain and Portugal that's going to lead to the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1492 that was made by the Pope. They agreed upon by Spain and Portugal. They divided discovered lands in the New World between the two powers. Keep in mind, they didn't care about the Native Americans that already lived there. The land west of the line of demarcation would belong to Spain. The lands east of the line will belong to Portugal. So Spain is going to be able to get more land in Portugal because of how the line of demarcation gave them the area west to it. Spanish success in the Americas. Explorers called conquistadores claimed land for Spain, or conquerors is what it stands for. The gold discovered in Americas made Spain the most powerful country in Europe in the early years of the Asia exploration. Finally, other European countries are going to join in the Asia exploration and start colonizing the New World. You're going to have France, England, and the Netherlands became more active in exploration in the 1600s. Let's look at France. The areas that they settled or colonized is going to be called New France. That's going to be mainly the Canada, the northern part of North America. They built a colony closely associated with the fur trade. At its height, it stretched from Canada to New Orleans, Louisiana. Then you have the Dutch. They built a colony called New Netherland. It included a settlement that would eventually become New York. That's where we get the new from. Later on, England or Britain will take New Netherland and turn it into New York. They will take it from the Dutch. But they settled that area first. Then let's go to the British. They had an early attempt of colonization. It was made by Walter Raleigh. That's where we get the name of our capital, Raleigh, from him. Walter Raleigh on Roanoke Island in present-day North Carolina. It was unsuccessful. The group disappeared, leaving behind the word Croatan carved into a tree. Some people believe that they went to this group of Indians and they helped them and they became part of their family or their group, their tribe. Nobody really knows what happened to it's called the Lost Colony. They just know that this is the last thing or the last clue that was carved into the tree, the word Croatan, which is the Native Americans in that area. The first successful British settlement is going to be Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. It is the oldest permanent British settlement. It was founded to make a profit for its founders. After struggling early on, which 90% of the colonists died in a winter storm from 1609 to 10, the colony is going to become what is called a cash crop and is going to thrive in tobacco. Will thrive in tobacco. The second colony is going to be Plymouth in 1620. Was founded by the Pilgrims, which is a specific type of Puritans seeking religious freedom. They are going to land on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, but eventually settling at Plymouth Bay, Massachusetts. This group began a relationship with local Native Americans, and this is where we get the whole history of Thanksgiving, because they actually had a good relationship with the Native Americans. They exchanged ideals, they exchanged food. So looking at the end of just looking at the Asia exploration, what did it lead to? It was it increased European power through their overseas settlements, devastation of the Native American population due to smallpox and then being enslaved, being conquered. It also is going to cause the African slave trade. They're going to find different areas that are going to be known as colonies that produce cash crops, a lot of money, like sugar plantations, tobacco plantations. They're going to need individuals to work that. The Native Americans are going to be dying off from that, and so they go to the Africans and use them, the western coast of Africa, and it's going to be called the African slave trade. They are going to have an increased knowledge because they discover a whole vast of land on the other side of the world, and they're going to have an exchange of goods between the old and new worlds, which again is going to be called the Columbian Exchange. And that's it for today's lecture, and have a good day.